So this diorama is set on the mystical moon of Kadau. The temple has been deserted, but you can just hear in the distance the sound of sabres clashing. I like to try something new with every diorama, and this time it's LED minis. Now, I've seen them on Instagram and places like that, and they normally look quite fiddly with a lot of soldering, and I wanted to set myself a challenge. And not only was I going to do LED minis for the first time, I wasn't going to get my soldering iron out either. I'm not sure it was a good idea or not, but I did eventually get these to work. So follow along and see how to make LED minis without any soldering. So how does it work? Well, the basic concept is really simple. There are two magnets and they squash the LED end of the LED wire between them. Magnets conduct electricity. You put the magnet against the battery, job's done. Except it's fitting it into a Legion size base here, which is 27mm wide, but only a few millimeters high. So I did 8mm by 1mm for the base that could fit in, and that's the negative side. And then I did 3mm by 1mm, two of those to catch the side. Now the sides aren't square, and actually, shock horror, this worked. The LED lights up. Great proof of concept. But this does hide the 9 minutes 14 seconds that I deleted out of the video edit of me trying to get the two wires captured between magnets. Time to design the minis. And these are two poses from my Kickstarter that's currently running, Kadau the Temple Moon. These are the dark and light heroes that come with that. And the stretch goal for these LED minis has been unlocked. I ended up making the light guy's hand bigger twice, but he was a bit straighter in his poses. With the dark dude, I really struggled. I had to take his hand and his sabre separate, and then I had to actually move which leg I put the wiring through because, frankly, it just won't go round a bend. But you can see this is the second version of the dark sabre on the left, and then on the right is the third version. The first version didn't even print at all. So you see, there's a little bit of an iteration process before I finally had my minis and I was able to take them outside and paint them. Because this is a diorama about light, I've primed them in black. It's just automotive black matte spray paint, Halfords if you're in the UK. After a quick clean up to make sure everything fits, it's time to talk LEDs. I have a selection that I've bought. The red 0603s are 1.8 volts, and sadly the 1.55 volt batteries that fit in the bases don't like them. But also I felt that the red and black wires were probably a bit thick, and I need 4 wires for 2 LEDs to fit through the hole. So instead I've gone with the 3 volt ones that are sunny white or golden white, and I've got a blue as well. These LEDs come with copper wires. Now they're not bare copper, it does have a coating on them, and the end is slightly silvery where it's tin, so you can see where it's conductive. These are brilliant because they're so fine, but it does mean when you push them through they have a tendency to crumple unless the way is very clear. And finally the battery. Now I haven't put any resistors in with this at all because I'm doing solder free, so I picked a battery that matched my LEDs. And LR97s do 1.55 volts, but I find they didn't light any of my LEDs. The ones that I picked, the LEDs I picked specifically because they were 3 volt, and the CR927 lights them up beautifully. And now comes the part that will challenge your manual dexterity and patience. Getting very fine wires through small holes. This wasn't so bad on the light one, which is what I'm showing here. This actually worked really easily. The only difficult bit was I had to put it through the hand first and then pull it out and then slot it through the arm. It went through the body really easily. The dark one though, maybe because he's channeling dark energy, whoa, was he much more tough. For a start, he just seemed to be more, he didn't seem to clear his holes as easily, and yet the holes are the same size as the light one. I ended up redesigning and reprinting his body to make the hole through the body straighter because it had gone around the leg that's flat onto the base, and it just wouldn't go around the knee part of that. So I made it go onto the back leg that's a straighter pose and pushed it through, but it's incredibly close to the edge and fine to try and make as straight a hole as possible. And he had 4 wires to push through. But at the end we have success. We have an LED that lights up when you touch the ends to the battery. Time to put it on the base. There's a tendency in videos to gloss over the mistakes, so perhaps I shouldn't mention the fact that I did the first Mini, the light one. I did it all the way through, I put the battery in and it didn't light. And I was like, why doesn't it light? I'd put it in the wrong way around. I'd actually got the positives and the negatives reversed. Thankfully it didn't blow the LED at all. Relief. And I was able to take it off and do it properly. The wires are very long and you can scrape away the coating with an X-Acto blade. So in goes my 8mm, 2x8mm magnets with the negative side of the LED in there with a bit of super glue, popped in place and zapped. And then to make sure it lights up, I put the battery in and then I put in the other LEDs. The first time I found the magnet was sort of dragging everything out of place, and the 2 sets of magnets started to touch because they were attracted to each other. So I made sure that I pushed the battery over to the side so that the LED was lit up, put the super glue on, and job done. Super glue the Mini to the base, and it's time to paint. I've kept the painting deliberately simple. I'm dry brushing most of it using these dry brush brushes by Army Painter. I'm going to leave plenty of black showing because it's quite strong light and dark in this diorama. I'm using black grey by Vallejo mixed in with white also by Vallejo, and just getting lighter and lighter as I go through, bringing out the detail that's there. The dark guy doesn't really get much else than that because he's almost all in black. The light guy will get a little bit more, but he starts off the same way. Dark black through to a pale grey. I used Army Painter speed paints to add the colour over the top. Now this is more or less translucent, so it doesn't hide the white to darks that we've got on there. Really, the light guy got a little bit of brown. He got some gold on his helmet, and the dark guy got silver on his sabre, as did the light guy, to be honest. And he also got silver gauntlets and a helmet. I printed the sabres in a clear resin. They came out quite matte, and I wonder whether I should have left them like that matte. But to glue them in, I used super glue, and when you put that on, that's quite clear and shiny. So I ran it up and down the sabre so that the whole thing tied together. The only thing then was to paint the sabres. I used alcohol inks because they're nice and translucent and they're thin so the light shows through. I do wish I had red LEDs though. No matter how much I paint them, they still look a little too yellow. And before we get on with it, a quick reminder that these models are all from Kadau the Temple Moon on Kickstarter now. So if you haven't checked it out, please go and have a look. Links will be down below in the description. And now I need a diorama to show off my LED minis. I'd already created some LED columns for my Kadau the Temple Moon Kickstarter, so I was able to use those. These just have screw-on bases and you can put a tea light inside. You can see I had 2 colours of filament, but it's translucent filament, so it's slightly see-through. I also did a second version of the base that had a hole in the bottom so I could put my LED strip that I'm going to use up through it. Translucent filament is a pain to print though, and it's very spidery. You can see loads and loads of cobwebs on this, but they're easily got rid of with a blowtorch. So I blowtorched these. Just a word of warning, I did melt the sides occasionally and I've got little dents in my columns in places now, so go light. A light test with the LED shows that you can see hot spots. So I'm going to put some diffusing material in when I've painted them that will get rid of those. A quick word, these are designed to use tea lights, but they're not really bright enough. And this one's quite orange, although you can get cool white ones. Instead, you're better off using these. These are submersible lights. I got them off Amazon too, and they're tea light shaped, but they're 3 LEDs and they come in RGB colours, so you can pick a blue that complements the translucent filament that I've used here. Mine are going to be a permanently installed diorama in the end, so I'm actually going to go with LED strips. But in the meanwhile, I'm painted them. Now, you can't get paint in the grooves, so you have to dab it on, and I'm using a sponge brush. These are disposable, but you can wash them and use them many times. This is a colour that I just had sat around. You want a dark colour to start with because you want to block the light so it doesn't shine out through the bits of stone that aren't supposed to be lit. So especially the top and bottom. So I'm just using this brown that I had sat around that's called rock colour. Basically a mix of brown, slightly thinned, so it's easier to put on. But because it's slightly thinned, I ended up doing 2 coats. I'm also doing the light altar, as it's called in the Kickstarter, to go into the centre. And the advantage of a slightly thinned paint is it will get into all these grooves and colour them. But because I've painted the columns and I want this to match, I'm going to paint it with the same colours, even though I haven't actually painted the rest of my Kickstarter because this matte filament looks really good unpainted. I don't actually want my columns to be brown though, so I've picked natural colour. It's sometimes called buff titanium, sometimes natural, and it's an artist's acrylic. And I'm using a very wet, dry brush to add a lot of colour onto these, mostly on the high edges, which will bring out the texture and add the colour in that I want. Now at the moment the darks are quite dark and the lights are quite light, so to tie them together I made an oil wash. This is odourless thinners, which is basically non-smelly white spirit, and oil paints. I wanted to do yellow ochre, but I didn't have any, so I mixed 3 warm siennas and yellows and oranges together. It didn't come out quite the colour I wanted, but you know, it's what I had, and the whole point of modelling is to use what you have and not always buy new stuff. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Now, as well as doing the columns, I have been doing a diorama base alongside it, and here it is mocked up. You can see there's 4 columns, the altarpiece, and then I 3D printed these 2 outsides, and this is this matte filament. It looks really good, but I need to tie it together, so I'm now going to paint it to look just like the rest. Although it does look really good and it's printed at 0.08, the top edges where you print are never as good because you can see the edges of each layer. So for those I put on some spray putty, and this is Mo-Tip spray putty. If you're in North America you apparently can't get spray putty, so you need to use filler primer instead. After a whole can of spray putty I use black car paint to give it a really dark feeling because I want the light to come from the columns and for the actual box to be quite dark. It also makes the outside look a little bit more finished. It then got the same treatment as the columns and altar. Brown acrylic paint, dry brush natural colour, and the I wish it was yellow ochre wash. And we're there. Just time to put the LED lights in. Or is it? First up though, I added this. It's plate packing material, but I use it as diffuser. It works really well. I then hit a design flaw. I should have put a hole in here so that I could access getting in the LED strips. These were originally designed to just be with those screw-in lights, so I hadn't thought about it particularly, but I'd left a hole in the base, but what I hadn't done is allow any ability to actually bend the LED strips to get them into the columns, and the columns just slide in. There's no clearance on them at all. After much poking and prodding, I plugged it in and nothing happened. I tried different cables, I tried plugging it in the wall, but no, all you see is nothing. Nothing happened. I have no idea what happened. But the good news is, in my stash cupboard, I had fairy lights, and these are the wire lights with little LEDs on. And I had them in blue. I have no idea what I bought these for, but obviously I bought them a while ago and I still have another one there if I want to use them. And it turns out that these fairy lights are much easier to get down these holes. But at this point, I gave up and I just shoved them in from the outside rather than trying to use that narrow hole. And I'll fix this on the files that go in the Kickstarter. But the good news is that because this was metal, it was way, way easier to put in than the LED strips. Then I just clipped it together with open lock clips and I was done. Or was I? The sabres just don't show up. You can see the end because there's a little bit of something to stop the light, and you can see the LEDs very brightly. The blue is slightly better, but you can't really see them. So I had two thoughts. One, I needed to block the yellow of those LEDs, and I used Tamiya Clear Gloss Red. It's translucent, it shows light through, but it's a thicker colour than the inks. Two, I tried putting matte varnish over them. Why matte varnish? Well, matte varnish has particles in that will hopefully stop the light. Let's see what it looks like now. A subtle improvement, but an improvement nonetheless. And now we're done. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, remember you can get these STLs to print at home on the Kickstarter Kadau the Temple Moon that's running now. I'll put the link down below, so pop on over and check them out. And the LED columns haven't unlocked yet, so I do need your help to unlock them so that you can all make LED columns to put on your tabletops. And there we go. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.